Welcome to the Dating After Divorce podcast. I'm your host, Shade Curry, and I believe every divorced woman deserves a romantic relationship where she feels safe, loved, and cherished. You can create the most amazing life after divorce, and I will teach you how. Hi, all. Welcome back to the podcast. This episode is a replay of episode 152 from Messy to Married with Kimberly Jarman. And I am bringing this episode back because I have been talking in my newsletter and hosting a webinar about chemistry and attraction. And my friend and coach colleague Kim is an embodiment of someone doing that work. So I want you to listen to her story about how she shifted her attraction from toxic bad guys to her current husband of about a decade, who is a wonderful, wonderful partner. And I have a special invitation for you as part of that podcast. So listen on, enjoy. This is such a good episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Dating After Divorce podcast. Happy new 2023. This is the first podcast episode of the year. And I have the pleasure of sharing this episode with my coach friend and colleague, Kimberly Jarman. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yep, you nailed it.
I was like, wait a second. Sometimes J's pronounced differently. And you are a mindset coach for women who are struggling to live out their purpose. That is amazing. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to that work, who you help, and kind of like what your clients come to you with.
Yeah. I think a lot of us coaches, we came to the work because that was the work that we needed. I was one of those people that did all the things. Like, you were supposed to go to college. My degrees are in counseling. So you had to go get your master's. And then I went and got the 8-to-5 job and I got married and I was like, I really hate my life. Mm. And in my 30s, I was just like, this is it. Like, this is what the rest of my life is going to look like. No, I am not available for this. And so there was lots of like trauma with spiritual bypassing and therapy in there. And, eventually I came to a place where I was like, you know what? No one's going to save me.
Yeah.
No one's going to change my life. No deity for me is going to save me. If I want a different life, it's all on me. And so I knew I could be successful. I knew I had it in me. I knew my life was destined for something big. I just couldn't figure out how to get out of my own way. So I was reading this book by Jen Sincero, You're a Badass at Making Money. Have you read it?
Yeah, I've read both her books. You're a badass and You're a badass at making money. I love them.
So my brain just told me throughout that whole book, like, if you want to be successful, you have to get a coach. And I was like, I don't know what that is. I don't know where you find that, but I'll just Google it. So I Googled it and I found Brooke Castillo's podcast. And so I listened to 2 episodes and I was in, because it was like all my years in therapy as a client, and then my degrees in counseling, I had never heard that my emotions were created by my thoughts. And I was like, this is the freaking keys to the universe. So I signed up. I was in Scholars for 2 years. And then I was like, I literally have the keys to the universe. Like, this is how you change your life. And that's when I started my coaching business, because I really wanted to help women that were stuck like me.
Yeah. How do people know? How did you know that you were stuck? You know, people say like, well, I'm stuck. Like, and I resonate with that because I was stuck for 17 years in my first marriage, but I didn't know it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of scary because, like, in the end, I didn't even file for divorce. My ex did.
Yeah, mine did too.
Like,
and it was messy.
I know. And like, with all the crazy that was happening and all the messiness and all the toxicity and abuse, I was like not aware that there was an alternative. There was an alternative way to live, a better way to live. And so I was almost forced into my own growth.
Uh-huh.
Like, if someone's listening and they think, well, life is hard and life has things, like, if we wanted to initiate our own break out of that stuckness, I don't even know if I know what I'm asking, but I'm just asking from my own place.
Yeah.
How could I have known that I was stuck?
I think it's a fantastic question. How did I know I was stuck? Because I kept trying to switch circumstances, right? Like moving states, changing jobs, right? And I kept revisiting the same feelings of like, I'm not satisfied. Like I'm not happy. Like there has to be more to life than this.
Yeah.
I have one life and like, this is not what I want it to be. And no matter what I did, no matter what books I read, no matter what, I just kept coming back to that same emotion and feeling.
Yeah. It sounds like you had an expectation that you would experience like aliveness or joy, and you recognize that you weren't experiencing it.
I mean, I didn't even have that high a bar. My bar was just like, I just want to be happy.
Yeah.
Like I was not able to really access happiness on a daily basis.
Yeah. How did you feel on a daily basis? Like what was your predominant emotion?
Trapped. I felt trapped in my life. I felt like I lived in this prison, and that nothing powerless. I definitely was in victim mindset a lot, like that I couldn't change anything. So I lived off this like wishy, hopey energy a lot. Like, I hope God changes this for me, or I wish things would be different. So I felt very powerless and discontent.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Some signs that you might be stuck.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you for that introduction and humoring all my questions. I know we're here to really talk about your divorce story.
Yeah.
After divorce story. So, I mean, we can just jump right in and get started. Can you tell us a little bit about like your first marriage and what happened there, why you got divorced?
Yeah, it's interesting, Sade. We were married for 9 years and I've been divorced from him since 2016. So what is that? Like
8 years?
8. Wow. Yeah. And I still feel a little protective over him. It's interesting. So we met in college and we both had spiritually bypassed a lot of trauma in our life. So we trauma bonded, and I didn't know that back then. Right. So it was this very like intense relationship in which I just felt like this person totally got me and understood me. Right. And we were very connected, and I ignored all of the red flags. Like we were living together and he moved to Oregon.
Oh, okay. Just
and my little naive self was like, oh, okay, yeah. It never clicked. Like this man that's supposed to love you just left you in Oklahoma. Yeah. Like,
so you didn't know you'd been left.
Yeah, it didn't really register fully, right?
You were married at the time, or
no? We were just dating.
Okay.
And he was like very adamant, like, I don't, marriage. He came from a divorced family. Like marriage just ruins your lives, right? But he had moved to Oregon, and then he decided that he wanted me to be with him, and he knew that he was going to have to marry me to do that. So he invited me out for Christmas, was like, hey, I just want you to be with me. Let's get married, change your whole graduate program so you can get out early and move out here with me. And I did. And you know what? Like, I sent out the wedding. So that was in December. The wedding invitations got sent out in February because we were going to get married in July. And I knew I didn't want to get married to him, but the invitations were already gone out. And I just didn't, I didn't have the courage to disappoint people or him. So we got married, and within the first year, I was like, I don't want to be married to him, because it was just so like, if you have two people that are trauma bonded, you have to expect like there's gonna be a lot of like chaos, right? Two broken people together that don't know how to cope well. So there was a lot of emotional and verbal abuse. Then it of course escalates like it does, right? Into there was introductions now of like physical, and we stayed married for 9 years, and every year I wanted a divorce and I would talk to him about it, but it was like we were so bonded together. I lived in these thoughts of no one else will marry me. If I get a divorce, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. No one will understand or get me like he does, or what if I just
Why did you think no one would want you for the rest of your life? Was that part of your religious upbringing, or was that just a thought that you had?
I think it was just a thought that I had, right? Like, you're married, you're going to be old. You're not going to be 20 anymore, right? Like, you're going to be 30s. Like,
yeah. It's interesting.
Everybody else is taken and married.
Yeah.
Right?
Because you weren't old at that moment. How old were you?
When we finally got a divorce, I was 34, 35.
Yeah. So your brain went from 35 to, I don't know, 85?
I guess. I had a few gray hairs and some lines, so you're just not available anymore.
Yeah, but this is what our brains do. 100%.
Yeah, and it keeps you stuck. I wanted a divorce so bad, but those thoughts were so powerful that they just kept me living in this life over and over. And like, I even towards the end, because we lost everything in a flood. And so then like my depression had turned into PTSD at that point.
Gotcha.
And my psychologist was like, you're in a domestic violence marriage, right? And I was like, no.
Wow.
I've been through graduate school and studied this. No. And then it sat with me and I was like, oh my God. Like, yeah, yes, I am. And I still didn't have the courage yet, to ask for a divorce, because that's what's so like in those type of relationships, it's not always all bad.
Right.
It's like a good week, a good 2 weeks, then we have a bad week, or we have 2 bad weeks. And it's just this constant like up and down.
Right. And on the good weeks, like you completely forget what happened before.
Yes.
And I think what really helped me start to set boundaries, which the boundaries precipitated him filing for a divorce. So he was not available for me to set boundaries.
Okay.
Well, I remember that month I had documented every day. I remember it was April. And I said, I got a journal and I numbered every day of the month. And I was just going to write down everything that happened for a month. Because I was like, I had no clarity about what was happening. And at the end of those 30 days, I was like, oh, because we went through all of the cycles in those 30 days.
Yeah. I love that you did that. I did not have the wherewithal to do that. Right. I mean,
I was married for 17 years. So,
But at that point, like the combination of like our relationship and the chaos of that, and then me having PTSD, like I was starting to tailspin, right? And I was just like, I could not get any relief from negative feelings. So I was then starting to self-medicate. And what really led to finally, I won't take the credit of being courageous and leaving the marriage, right? Yeah. My subconscious self decided to burn my life down to get me out of it, right? So
that's courageous.
What happened is like I developed a crush on another man, and I am a very honest person. So I told my husband, I was like, I have a crush on this guy, and he was irate, of course, right? And he packed his shit up and he said, fine, we'll separate. And I was like, well, let's just do a 3-month separation, right? I wasn't ready for the commitment of divorce. I was like, let's just do a 3-month. If we miss each other at the end of the 3 months, we'll reconvene, because we'd already been through 2 marriage counselors. And I was like, if we don't miss each other, then that's our sign and we'll just continue to go our separate ways. He's like, fine. 2 weeks later, he left. He moved to a whole nother state. Left me to pick the house up and sell it. So I did that. And I moved home to Oklahoma. I tried my best to like mend that relationship with him, and he just was not available for it. And I found another person to have a relationship with, and he hacked into my account and found the messages between me and this other person. And that's when he was like, I'm done. Send me the divorce papers. So it was super messy. Like, I'm not proud of that, but I just wasn't a person that had enough courage to be like, I don't want this anymore. And I felt like such a victim, right? Like,
yeah. And it's interesting. I mean, I see what you're saying when you said, it wasn't courageous and messy, but I can also see how it's almost like your brain took the only way out that it knew how to take.
Yes.
Like, this is the only way I know to take out. And I mean, of course, if someone had sat in front of you and said, here are your 10 options, and all of them are available for you, and all of them are okay, and here's permission, of course.
Yeah.
But, when you don't have that,
right,
you're relying on whatever emotional maturity you have to make those choices. So in its own way, it was still courageous. Yeah. That's my professional opinion.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's how we ended up getting a divorce. And it's really interesting. Like, I understand, like, my whole thing is I didn't want to hurt him, and like I ended up hurting him in the worst ways possible, but we still maintained a bond in a relationship. Mm-hmm. Like, we were still friends up to 5 years past our divorce. Yeah.
I mean, I think not every story has the ex as like this demon person that you can't talk to. Like, there are plenty of stories where it's amicable, or people change, or things like that. But recognizing that, okay, this is not working. It's still not working.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, how about dating? How did that happen?
I mean, obviously, because I went from one relationship to the other to get out of another relationship.
Which is interesting. So, because I mean, it sounds bad, but I'm fascinated by the fact that you just kept finding these great men, or these men.
Oh, they're not great.
People are like, I can't find any men anywhere. You're like, I'm just lining them up.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, when you're not healthy and you don't have a lot of self-awareness, you keep repeating the same pattern. And I became aware of that. I was like, I am dating the same man. He just has a different face.
Yeah. What were the patterns that they all shared?
It's like that bad boy. I need to rescue him. If I just love him enough, right, he'll become healthy, and then I've won, and he'll love me, and I'll be lovable, right? Emotionally unavailable, but also always trauma bonding, right? They've had really shitty things they have not dealt with. So we'll just bond over that together.
Yeah. So would they talk about their trauma with you and what they'd been through?
Yeah. I mean, I do think, like, I mean, I'm a coach, right? Like, I wasn't a coach back then, but I do have this ability to just connect with people and hold space, which makes them feel safe to allow to share that. And I'm also a very vulnerable person. So it was just like, oh, here's all my stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How would they respond when you talked about your stuff? Was there any reciprocity?
You know how you meet someone super cute when you're dating and you're really excited, but then you discover that they're completely wrong for you, or they're emotionally unavailable? Or have you ever dated someone, you didn't have an initial attraction, but they felt nice, there was no spark, so you gave them a chance, hoping the spark would grow, only to be disappointed, and in some cases find out that the not-so-cute guy was even worse than the cute guy? Listen, when you're raised in a society that has specific narratives for women and relationships, or you have been raised on the idea of fairy tales and the spark and romantic comedies, you might have no idea what attraction really is and what it means for a relationship. And if you don't know that, then you won't know how to be intentional about it. Here are some questions that might come up along the way. How much attraction is necessary for a healthy relationship? Am I being superficial because I want someone that I'm attracted to and have chemistry with? Is what I'm feeling infatuation, or is it genuine, healthy chemistry? Can attraction develop over time? And when I am strongly attracted to someone, why does it seem to fade into nothing after a while? If you've had any of these questions, you're going to want to join my masterclass, Beyond the Spark. I'm going to be talking about the 10 elements that contribute to chemistry and attraction. I'm going to show you how to recognize your own personal attraction patterns, the good and the bad, and how to define attraction for yourself. We're going to talk about the science behind the spark, and most importantly, how to dial down attraction to toxic partners and how to dial it up for people who are good for you. I want to invite you to join me on my live stream, March 30, 2025 at 4 p.m. Eastern /3 p.m. Central Time. And if you can't make it at that time, sign up anyway because I am going to send you the replay via email. We can end all of this dating drama with science and psychology. So sign up at shadecurry.com/masterclass. The link is in the show notes. But if you want to write it down, it's SADECurry.com/masterclass. I am really excited to see you there. You know how you meet someone super cute when you're dating and you're really excited, but then you discover that they're completely wrong for you or they're emotionally unavailable? Or have you ever dated someone, you didn't have an initial attraction, but they felt nice, there was no spark, so you gave them a chance, hoping the spark would grow, only to be disappointed, and in some cases find out that the not-so-cute guy was even worse than the cute guy? Listen, when you're raised in a society that has specific narratives for women and relationships, or you have been raised on the idea of fairy tales and the spark and romantic comedies, you might have no idea what attraction really is and what it means for a relationship. And if you don't know that, then you won't know how to be intentional about it. Here are some questions that might come up along the way. How much attraction is necessary for a healthy relationship? Am I being superficial because I want someone that I'm attracted to and have chemistry with? Is what I'm feeling infatuation, or is it genuine, healthy chemistry? Can attraction develop over time? And when I am strongly attracted to someone, why does it seem to fade into nothing after a while? If you've had any of these questions, you're going to want to join my masterclass, Beyond the Spark. I'm going to be talking about the 10 elements that contribute to chemistry and attraction. I'm going to show you how to recognize your own personal attraction patterns, the good and the bad, and how to define attraction for yourself. We're going to talk about the science behind the spark, and most importantly, how to dial down attraction to toxic partners and how to dial it up for people who are good for you. I want to invite you to join me on my live stream, March 30, 2025 at 4 p.m. Eastern /3 p.m. Central Time. And if you can't make it at that time, sign up anyway because I am going to send you the replay via email. We can end all of this dating drama with science and psychology. So sign up at shadecurry.com/masterclass. The link is in the show notes. But if you want to write it down, it's SADECurry.com/masterclass. I am really excited to see you there.
Yeah, I do think there was, because I think there was a little bit of like their need to rescue someone as well.
Interesting.
Right? Here's this broken girl.
Yeah.
But also like, here's this broken girl that's I can also take advantage of.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So how did you change that?
And within this messy story, I had 6 therapists along the way since grad school and then through PTSD and stuff. And it wasn't helpful for me. And I ended up in the psych hospital for suicide. So when I got out of the psych hospital, that's when I made that decision. Like no one's coming to save me. If I want a different life, it's all on me. And I just started to take responsibility for my life. And I knew, you know what? I don't know how to do it differently, but I do know that if I date people that I am attracted to, I'm going to end up with the same thing over and over. So I'm just going to make myself date people that I am not attracted to and see if that works out better for me.
Okay. How did it go?
It went really well. So, I lived with my parents, and I was 30, what was I, 35, and I was living with my parents, and I had bought a business, and I was running my business. And next door to my parents was this beautiful couple that, like, I would walk by their house with my dog, and I would like dream about them being my in-laws, because they were like the sweetest people. They had a garden with a greenhouse, and I'm like, this is who I would want to be my in-laws. And I knew they had a son that was my age. I was like, yeah, I'll just take that one.
Yeah.
So my dog died, and I just marched my happy butt up the driveway to his house. And I was like, my dog died, and I'm tired of hanging out with my parents. Do you want to go on walks with me? And he was like, sure, because he's real shy. Right.
Now,
and
you said he wasn't attractive.
I mean, he was handsome, right? But you know what I'm talking about, like that chemistry, or, you know, like when you're attracted to people and it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like that.
I know it is. And we'll talk about chemistry. Yeah, we'll get to that. Because I was trying to say, like, was he like an ugly?
No, he was handsome. It just was like, he was that good boy, innocent, which was not attracted to.
Yeah.
And like, so we would go on walks, and it was so uncomfortable for me. I mean, it's not that I didn't enjoy being around him, but I just wanted to crawl out of my skin, because I constantly felt like a bad person, and not enough, not lovable, like I'm less than him, like he's never been married before, he's never made poor choices, like I'm not worthy to be with him. And that man would just, and I would be honest with him with that stuff, you know, and he would just be like, yeah, I just love you anyways. And he would just still go on walks with me. And as much as I tried to push away, he would just lean in and just kind of be that rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that so much. That, like, is he your partner today?
Yes. We've been married for 3 years now. We dated for 3, and then we've been married for 3 years. And here's what's funny about the story. So from the first time we go for a walk, right? No, our first date, we walk maybe for like 3 weeks together. And then he takes me on a date. 13 days after our first date, he's like, I love you. And I was like, oh, thank you very much. Good night.
Nice to know.
And I sat him down the next day, and I was like, I think that was in October. And I was like, that's how you feel? Fantastic. But you better not ask me to marry you come Christmas. Like, and so then he just waited 2.5 years later to ask me to marry him.
At that point, he was like, I'm gonna make sure she's really ready.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, let's talk about the chemistry and attraction, because this comes up so much in my coaching practice when I'm talking to women about dating. For a lot of us who are in those intense, chaotic relationships, I think, and I'm sure you know this, we mistake the infatuation, the anxiety, the intensity, even the pressure that a narcissist uses to love bomb you for attraction.
Yes. Yeah.
And it sounds like that's what you had experienced in your earlier relationships.
Yeah. I came from a family system that that was also chaotic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so my first husband, I basically married one of my parents. It's comfortable, it was safe. Like, I know this. The devil I know is safer than the devil I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't know, like I was mistaking all that for like love, I guess.
Yeah. Well, because love that you experienced as a child came in that package.
Yeah.
The love you observed came in that package. So of course your brain is like, yeah, this is love.
Yeah.
And we also see some of that on TV, movies. It's a little better now, but I definitely remember growing up reading romance novels, or like all the Barbara Cartland. These are like some British novels, Mills and Boons, Harlequins. The man was always dark, moody, wealthy, a jerk.
Yeah.
The girl was always vulnerable and poor. And then there would be we were just programmed with that.
Yeah.
And so of course we think that's chemistry. We think that that's attraction. And I have an episode where I've talked about chemistry and attraction. And I also make sure like I teach my clients how to identify what it really looks like for them. But I want to ask you, are you attracted to your husband?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
how is it different from what you thought was attraction?
Right. I've heard someone describe it like this before. Like before, like it was with my first husband, it was kind of indescribable. It was like exciting, right? And like just this deep feeling of connection. With my husband now, like it just feels like a partnership, and like it's very calm, and it's not like emotionally like highly charged.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes there are moments of high emotional charge, but it's not this constant.
Yes.
Like when you look at the graph, it's not spikes, and that those spikes are happening in rapid succession. It's you have this amazing calm. I love that you used the word calm, peaceful. I like the word satisfaction, fulfilling, nourishing. Then you have certain events that, that spike, like you have, when you're having sex, it spikes. Or when you are having a birthday or you go on a trip, like you have those spikes, but it's not, we're up one day and then tomorrow we're down and then we're crashing. And then,
Yes. Yeah. I thought I didn't study it enough. So I haven't dove into like attraction and like all of how you described it so beautifully earlier. I took it to my Oklahoma version. So my husband is a deer hunter and I love animals, right? So I look at like how bucks and does and the breeding season of them, right? And I also know that we're animals. So I looked at it very simply from that. Like, okay, so if I take the biology of attraction, I am a mammal, right? Of course, as a female mammal, I'm going to want to breed with this strong buck.
Yes, like the alpha male, the predator, the top of the food chain.
Yes. Yes. So then it was like, oh, okay, if that's what I'm attracted to from like this chemistry thing, like we're going to avoid that because I don't need a strong buck in my life to breed me.
Yeah.
I don't. I just get to have the buck that hangs around.
Evolutionarily, that was how we were designed, because you knew that alpha male was going to be the one that could provide food and would protect you, and your I was about to say your spawn.
Yes. My offspring would be survival.
Would be survivors.
Yes.
And so we are designed that way biologically. However, in 2023, we don't need any of that anymore.
No.
We live in a world that's basically safe. There's plenty of food. We're not looking with medical care, like all of that, all of those other biological needs are taken away. So now we choose partners for satisfaction.
Yeah.
For nourishment, for partnership, like you said, for compatibility.
Yes.
For peace.
Yes. And, a lot of times women that are like me, I guess, would have been like, well, that's boring.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, well, that's how like diving into like, it's not boring. It's just your brain is wired for this up and down thing going on. Right. And like, it doesn't serve you.
Right. And what's interesting is that it seems boring, like you said, because we're programmed that way. But what they don't understand is that you actually don't have room for true adventure. The adventure and the interesting things in the relationship is the drama.
Yes.
Because I remember like just my growth as a human was so stunted in my first marriage. I remember my ex got mad when I've always loved personal development books, but he felt neglected when I would spend time reading.
Oh.
So there was no room for expansion or adventure or any of that because of the drama.
Yeah.
Really hard to expand your life, to create new friendships, to do new things when there's so much drama.
Yeah. And what's interesting in that is like, so my ex was a college football coach. So they would go to work at 6 a.m. and not come home until 1 a.m. So I was by myself a lot, and if I wanted an adventure, I had to go do it with the dogs. At one point he told me he got the dog. I was like, well, come sit by me on the couch. He's like, I got you a dog for that. Like that was the mentality, right? But when we would take adventures together, right?
Mhm.
It wasn't an adventure because we fought the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
We go to a concert and fight over the parking space and be mad at each other the whole time at the concerts. We couldn't even enjoy any of that.
Right. So the definition of boring, I think, for anyone who's worried that choosing a nourishing partner will be boring, is to say, what is my definition of boring? Like what really is, and what is my definition of exciting? Because I think sometimes we throw those words around and we're taking other people's meanings for that. And I think it really can be really good self-discovery.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, so when you went up and introduced, I don't know if you introduced yourself that day or if you did you know that I want something more? Or were you just looking for a friend, or were you like, I want to date this guy?
I wanted his parents to be my in-laws.
Okay. You were like, I have mapped it all out. I'm all in.
I'm manifesting this.
Yes.
Well, I knew that he was I knew he was responsible.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that he was a good human, right? Very loving and compassionate.
So you had met him before that day?
My brother was friends with him and his cousin.
Got it.
Right. I knew he was a hard worker. I just knew he was a good human.
I love that. And I love that you loved yourself enough to choose that. I love that, because sometimes I try to explain to my clients, no. You are the leader in your journey. You are going out and you are gifting yourself this nourishing, fulfilling, loving relationship. It's not just something that happens to you.
Correct. Right. Yeah. No, it did not just happen. I sought it out, This is the kind of family I want to have as my in-laws. He's the type of person, these qualities that I want as a partner. Yeah. Right.
So good.
And I also knew in our journey, as our walks together, and he would, as much as I would try to push him away because of the uncomfortableness and he would lean in, I also was very clear, and this was before mindset work, that the problem was, as I had these thoughts, this sounds so shitty, but I'm just going to be honest. Part of the reason I would date these other men, the bad boys, is because I got to feel better about myself. Well, at least I'm not on drugs. At least I'm not like this, right? And I didn't get that privilege with my current husband. He was always well, he didn't do this and I did these things, and I would at least grasp within me, okay, this is what's making me uncomfortable, is that I don't get to feel better than him in this situation. And that's what's making me uncomfortable. And that's what's making me say this is boring. And that's what's making me say that he's a goody-goody person, right? That's what's repelling me, is that. And that needs to be dealt with in me.
Yeah. So how would if some for other women who are experiencing just that similar, looking for their value in their morality above other people, and that's affecting their dating journey, or seeing themselves as the lower, I'm the one who's down here. And because I have worked with women who feel well, the guy I want wouldn't want me. I'm not good enough for the guy that I want. And they sabotage by then choosing men that are not good for them at all. Kind of similar to you, but sometimes the particulars are different.
Yeah.
That up and down, someone's better than the other. And the value is in all these external situations. And I'm sure you work with women on that. What does that look like? What does coming out of that thinking look like?
I will credit him at that point in my journey for loving me unconditionally and being an example of what it is to love someone unconditionally, right? He was it doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters to me. I love you for who you are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I never really had that example in my life. Yeah. Now, as a coach, it's just my mindset's so much different, right? And I see the humans for what they are. We're all messy. right? We're 50-50. We are capable of both good and awful. And like that is every human.
Yeah.
Like, and it doesn't serve us to start measuring out like, well, your 50 good is like a lot better than my 50 good. You're 50 bad. Like, no, we're just all that. And your work is to go love you.
Yeah. We all have equal value.
Yeah.
Which is, but I'm like, yeah, but what about the serial killers? Equal value.
Yeah.
Now, different contributions.
Right.
One person might be contributing more positively to the world than the other, but in terms of value, you put every human on a scale, everyone's going to come out weighing exactly the same.
Yeah.
And the example that I like to use is when you have a little baby, if you were holding like a little 6-week-old baby, you would never think that baby didn't have value. Or that baby had this baby has a little less value than that baby.
Yeah.
We never think that way about babies. But that as we grow, then all these yardsticks and measuring sticks come in. Okay, this person got this grades and that grades. And then we start attributing our value to all those external things. But as humans, all equal value, which I think can be hard to absorb.
Especially if you don't have the capability to have compassion for yourself.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Those are very intertwined. You don't have compassion because you think you should be doing things better and something's wrong with you if you don't.
And if we don't have compassion for ourselves, then we can't have compassion for others. So then, of course, we're going to go to the yardstick and start measuring where the humans are at, right? Because then we got to figure out where we belong on that.
On the scale. Yes. Yeah. And I think a lot of our striving and hustling and running on treadmills comes from, and there's so many yardsticks, especially for women. I think one of the things I really took away from taking a feminist course last year was just how many yardsticks get applied to women. Yeah. Like, I don't even know how we're walking around thinking we have any value at all.
Right.
So either your body image or your performance, or whether you have kids or don't have kids, whether you're in a relationship or not a relationship, I was like, oh my God, how?
Yeah. And we're so conditioned to people please as women, right? I mean, that is one gift I got from my family system is like my dad was my hero and that man does not people please. So that just wasn't a coping mechanism that I picked up.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, you don't like my butt? Then you go work on your butt and we'll have a different conversation.
Love it. I love it. I wanted to go back to when you said before you got divorced, you thought nobody would want me, and that kept you in the marriage for 9 years. What switched? What changed after that you were like, yeah, somebody would want me or somebody might want me?
I do not advise this, but for me, it was when I found that other human that I had a crush on, right? Like he had a crush on me. So then it opened my eyes to a perspective like, I am desirable.
Yes. Yeah. And like you said, there are many different ways to, create that belief.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I mean, having an affair is one. Good. Well, there are other ways to do that. You don't have to do that to create that belief. You can create the belief by working on your thoughts, by finding the evidence that you are desirable. I have worked with clients where like sometimes they have really small breasts and they're like, nobody would desire someone who has a belief. And I'm like, okay, we go and look for evidence. Who do we know that is desirable, that is well-loved, who has tiny breasts? And it's interesting. There are a ton. Okay, for those listening, Kim is raising her hand. There's a ton of, we started with celebrities. Yeah. So I remember this coaching call with this client, and I was like, let's look for, we found a whole bunch of celebrities with tiny breasts, and they're gorgeous, and they have partners. I'm like, okay, so obviously, small breasts are not a problem. Yeah. Now, of course, that's just one piece of evidence. Yeah. You do have to choose to believe the evidence and to believe that evidence is true for you. But that's the work. Yeah. I want to go, my brain is randomly believing that I'm not desirable. I don't even know why. It's just decided that thought. Right. And I can switch that thought and I can prove it true because both can be true. Right. You might not be desirable to some people. There are some people who are like, gotta have the big breasts or nothing.
Yep.
But that does not negate the truth that there's a whole ton of people who are like, yeah, this is what I like.
Yep. Yeah. And I think now that was just that version of Kim, right? Like she didn't know how to manage her mind. So that's, I guess her subconscious found that way. But if I look at it from a coach's mind, like, oh, what I did is I got a different perspective and I changed my thoughts.
Yeah.
That's all I did. Right.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I am desirable, new perspective. And then I started looking for evidence to validate those new beliefs.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where the choice is there's almost like that moment where you decide that that's true, that you have enough evidence that one person, saying you look amazing is enough to open to choose the belief that might be true, and then to go find the evidence. And we can do this on purpose.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to happen to us randomly because someone desired us,
right,
gave us evidence. It can be like, I wonder if you can even start with like little ladder thoughts. I wonder if I'm desirable. How would I know?
Yeah. Well, what is desirable? What is your definition of desire?
There we go.
Right?
Let's start there. And then, do you desire you? Do you think you're amazing? Do you think you're beautiful? Like all of those, I think, are parts of the work that can be done to change our thoughts, change perspective. So I'd like to ask just a little more about your coaching practice. Now, do you serve a particular demographic, or is it just, women, people socialized as women?
I coach women. I have coached men, but I primarily focus on women who are driven and that they want more for their lives, right? Yeah. They want to be able to live in their full potential, but they just can't manage. They can't get out of their own way due to lack of self-confidence, or they just don't feel important. And that lack of importance causes them to be super driven to prove themselves. And then it creates a lot of self-sabotaging.
Yeah. Yeah. What kinds of like situations do they get into, like being driven, but also not believing that they can create those changes?
I have a perfect example for that. One of my clients, like I remember when we first started coaching, she's a banker and she was like in this dark office in a cubicle. And she had like got her degree. She was a single mom. She got her degree. And she's like, I really would just like a promotion. I've been in this position for 15 years and I would really just like a promotion. I was like, okay. So we started coaching. 6 weeks later, she had got a promotion to AVP. I coach her now from like the skyscraper that overlooks the city, right? She's got a new job. And it was just all because she didn't like, have that self-confidence to go ask for what she wanted in life.
Yes. I love, oh my God, that's such a great example.
Yeah.
Because we get it. It's the same thing as being in that marriage where you're stuck, or being stuck in not dating. It's like our brain kind of sometimes just closes off the possibilities because it doesn't believe that the possibilities are available.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Or we're waiting for someone else to come bring the possibilities to us.
Yes. We think it comes from the outside. We don't believe in our ability to make things happen. And you're such a great example of making those things happen in your life. Like, I just love your story. I'm like, yes, just go out there, pick the guy. Like,
right. Right. And I wanted to share the thoughts that like kind of, because that's always what I'm wanting as a coach. Like we're in the same communities, right? I'm like, what thoughts created this person to do that? So I want to share my thoughts about me that have allowed me to just like go after men that I want or whatever, I always had this thought, I'm pretty.
Amen.
And I believe that thought. And I have the thought like, I'm in good shape. And why wouldn't someone want me?
That's so good. That's so good.
And then it allows me to be confident, right? And like, yeah, why wouldn't you want me? And if you don't want me, like I've never worried about people cheating on me. Like, oh, you want to cheat on me? You can go cheat on me. You're just downgrading and I'll go find someone else.
Yeah. And those are thoughts that create confidence.
Yes.
100%. And, and everyone, because for everyone listening, you choose your own thoughts that create confidence. Like I know I'm pretty, but it's not, being pretty isn't something that like moves my soul. So it wasn't
Right.
one of the thoughts that I used to fuel my confidence. I used I felt like I was very interesting as a person. I was very adventurous and exciting. And so those are the thoughts that fueled my own confidence when I was dating. I was like, yeah, who would want to hang around me? I'm amazing. Like,
You
it's such
are.
a fun time. I'm super intelligent. Like, I make things happen.
Yes.
So like you find your own version of the thoughts about you that fuel your own confidence, right? And that fuel the things you love about you.
Yes.
The things that, because so many things are true that are about each of us that makes the thought I'm amazing true.
And I think, and maybe you can tell me if it's for you, those are what I could access before I found coaching, right? As I found coaching and like managed my mind and learned about all this, I have developed more and more deeper thoughts about me that build confidence.
Yeah.
Did you experience that?
Yeah, I have. And it's interesting because I haven't gone back to think about it in that light, like from dating. But yes, like I think I have newer thoughts about my ability to, I think, stand alone in the world. It's interesting, like at the time in my life where I have the most support and the most people around me, I more than ever believe that I can do things, I can make things happen, that I can enjoy life. I think I believe more than ever in the last 3 years that other people's opinions are just that. They have no impact on me. They like means nothing about me. And I think until I became an entrepreneur, I really did take other people's opinions to heart. Yeah. But you can't make it in business if you do. Like, right. So I have worked that belief. I think another one that I think I always believed that my people like me, but I didn't, and then my husband would like me and but I don't think I believed that I was likable. And I think that is a thought that I believe now. I'm like, I am likable. Like I'm great. Like I just, because what I would do was I would take the one person out of 100 that didn't like me, and I would like stew in whatever happened or whatever it was. And I think I also believed that the way I showed up was not likable.
Yeah. I had that thought as well.
And so, and that came from childhood. There are things that were said to me as a child that really reinforced that. And I think entrepreneurship helped me develop the belief that like, well, yeah, but I'm still going to show up this way. First of all, it might be true that it's not likable to some people the way I show up, but I've come to see how I show up as a gift.
Yes.
Like it's a gift to the world. It is a gift to the people that I love for me to be how I am, who I am.
Yeah.
And as long as I am not using that to hurt others, it's my contribution to the world to be 100% me.
Yes. And I think that's like why I love what we do so much. I mean, it is so life-changing.
Yeah.
But for me, for a long time, I think why I accessed I'm pretty is because I did not like my personality. I had reinforcement from childhood that, I mean, I'm intense. I'm an intense human, right? And I was told that all my life, like, you're so intense. That's why people don't like you. Your personality isn't enjoyable. So it was like, okay, how I'm going to get through this world then is just based on my looks. Like, because obviously my personality is not enjoyable. And then this work has really helped me to like, no, my personality is what makes me unique, and being intense makes me an excellent coach.
Yes. And I believe that too. Like the people who are intense, which I don't know if that's my favorite word for it, because I think like sometimes gets used in a negative way, but I know what you're talking about because I have, but yeah, intense people, let's use that word. Like we make amazing contributions to the world. We help so many people. Like we are world changers. Like, well, who wouldn't want to be that?
Right. Right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Kim, this has been such a great conversation.
Yeah.
Like I've enjoyed it so much. Thank you for sharing your life and your story and your thoughts with the listeners, could you please tell them, and all of this will be in the show notes, we'll have all your links in there, but for those who are like driving and like, don't want to go to the show notes later, could you spell out like your website name and where they can find you on social media?
Yes. And as an entrepreneur, like you always want to go back after a few years and be like, why did I name it so long?
Yeah.
So it's my name, Kimberly, Kimberly, Jarman, Jarman, coaching, COACHING.com. That would be my website. And all my social media handles are the same, Kimberly Jarman Coaching. So Instagram, TikTok, that's where you're going to find me hanging out most.
Okay. Well, see, but at least you made it consistent across the board. Like everywhere it's the same. So that helps. Kimberly Jarman Coaching, all one word, .com, and on all social media platforms.
Yes.
And so excuse me, all of those will be in the show notes. If Kimberly's story resonates with you, please reach out to her and tell her that you loved her story. And if you're interested in mindset coaching, or, everything we talked about, all of the general mindset, getting what you want coaching, please reach out to Kimberly. She's an amazing human. So either way, I definitely encourage you to follow her and just keep following her coaching journey. Kimberly, thank you so much for blessing my audience today. I want to just thank everyone who's been listening today. We appreciate your time and attention. And let's do 2023.
Yes. Let's create lots of things that we want in our life.
Yes, 100%. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We will see you next time.
Thanks for listening today. If you are ready to get married after divorce, I want to invite you to download my free 8-video training specifically designed to help divorced women date with ease and get married again. Head over to SadeCurry.com to get started. That's SadeCurry.com. I'll see you inside. Thanks for listening today. If you are ready to get married after divorce, I want to invite you to download my free 8-video training specifically designed to help divorced women date with ease and get married again. Head over to SadeCurry.com to get started. That's SadeCurry.com. I'll see you inside.